All right, so Jay-Z, Shawn Carter, has been named in this civil lawsuit alongside his boy, Sean Combs, Puff Daddy. We're going to get into it, some of these allegations and what we can expect moving forward. This is obviously just in its infancy stages as it relates to Hove being named in this lawsuit. And I just want to make sure that we say it right out the gate, right? These are allegations in a civil complaint. There has been nothing proved at this point. And so we just want to make sure that we're respectful to the defense in that sense. And then also, if what is said in this lawsuit is true, obviously that is a very disgusting thing. If what is alleged in this lawsuit is true, it's absolutely terrible. And, I want to proceed with all due respect to the plaintiff and her family and all of that. So this is something that happened at this point almost 25 years ago, right? So this happened in 2000. What is alleged is the plaintiff was only 13 at the time of this incident. She had she wanted to go to the VMAs, right? And man, I think back, in the early 2000s, in the 90s, VMAs being, the place to be, being the major thing, right? Back when MTV actually had music videos, right? But this girl wanted to get into the VMAs, wasn't able to get into the VMAs, as you would expect. You just have this random 13-year-old girl trying to get into an award show, so you can understand why that wasn't happening. But she's apparently hanging around, where the limos were passing by and trying to reach out to these different limo drivers to see if she could get the inside scoop on where to go. She apparently ends up speaking to one of the limo drivers who worked for Puff or worked with Puff on some way, trying to get into the party. So I can't get you into the VMAs, but there is an after party, and you fit the kind of description, or you're what Puff likes, right? Something to that effect. And so said that if you come back to this designated location, after I make my rounds, I'll then pick you up and take you to the party. So she's at the designated spot. He then picks her up to go to this party. And you can imagine, that's really cool as a 13-year-old to, now you're getting picked up in a limousine and taken to an after party, right? And so she's taken to what she describes as a U-shaped mansion, right? So she goes, is dropped off, walks in, sees a number of celebrities. And, if this is a mansion party after the VMAs, you can imagine just, how decked out the scene was. Says that she's, seeing celebrities left and right, ends up getting served a drink. It was fruity in taste, but had a bitter taste to it. And after drinking this drink, at some point she was feeling kind of woozy. She goes around looking for a bedroom to lay down. Finds a room, goes in, and at a certain point, she says that Sean Combs, and now we know that Jay-Z's name has been added to this lawsuit. So Sean Combs, Shawn Carter, Jay-Z walks into the room, and a yet to be named female celebrity. So we have an unknown female celebrity named in this lawsuit. A number of people are speculating as to who that is, but she hasn't been named yet. And so, we're not going to go there. So it's Jay, it's Puff, and this unnamed female celebrity. Sean Combs then approaches her with kind of a twisted look on his face, telling her, "Oh yeah, you ready to party now?" He then throws her, and again, just proceeding with all due respect, this is just what's alleged. He then throws her. I think she impacts a wall. At some point, the allegations are it's Jay that ends up taking her clothes off, proceeds to have sex with her. When he's done, then Puff has sex with her. All the while, the unnamed female celebrity is standing right there observing this. Puff then finishes. She then, I guess, musters the courage to try and attack Puff. So she ends up like punching towards him, punching towards his neck or something like that. Manages to get away. She grabs her clothes. It's a dress. She's holding it kind of like a towel, covering herself up. This is a pretty big mansion, so she doesn't exactly know where the exit is. So she's frantically running around. And this is pretty surprising that, nobody thought to do anything, whether it was the security detail or the party goers or anybody to see this girl running around. And she then makes her way out, at some point reaches a gas station, is able to call her father, who then picks her up and takes her home, right? And so, the other thing is that when she arrived, she was required to sign an NDA, and that's just something that we've heard over and over the years. You go to these exclusive parties, you have to sign an NDA. But again, if this happened, right? If this happened, that is absolutely horrendous. I don't have a daughter quite yet, but I can only imagine, just how painful that would be to know that your daughter has gone through something like this. But now we have a lawsuit being filed 24 years later, naming Sean Combs, naming Sean Carter, and this unknown female celebrity in this lawsuit. And it definitely presents some serious evidentiary issues and some witness issues, right? It being so long ago. I mean, if this had just happened, say, last week or something like that, then you would be able to reach out, have your investigator reach out to different people that were there. You would probably be able to more easily track down this limo driver. You'd be more easily able to track down the gas station attendant, right? Or any other witnesses who may have seen something, right? But now with it being with so much time having been passed, that becomes a bit more of a challenge. And then you had Jay-Z, because now this has become sort of a PR battle in social media, right? With Jay-Z going back and forth with Tony Buzbee, the lawyer for the plaintiff and the lawyer for a number of other plaintiffs suing Puff, for charge or allegations relating to sexual assault. But one of the things that Jay said that was interesting is alluding to the idea that why are we in the civil world versus the criminal world, right? So if I have committed, statutory rape or some sort of sexual assault against this girl, that's a crime. So why has this not been initiated as a criminal investigation, right? Why don't we have, local authorities, whether that's NYPD or the FBI or, HSI or one of these investigatory agencies looking into these allegations? And, ideally, in a situation like this, when it would have happened, law enforcement would be able to have her go to one of these organizations and have, a sexual assault a kit done, like a rape kit done, right? Where they're doing swabs, they're swabbing for DNA, right? They're checking, on a female, they're checking the vaginal area for any bruising, any tearing of tissue. They're looking at the body. Are there any wounds, any bruising, any cuts, lacerations, things like that, to see if there's any evidence of trauma, right? Do we have any DNA present, in the anal area, in the vaginal area, on her mouth, on her body, anywhere, right? With this not having been reported, that does away with the possibility of being able to do one of these examinations, and now we're solely relying on this now adult's word, but who was a minor at the time. And so, it certainly creates a number of evidentiary issues having delayed this long. But, I want to reiterate that just because somebody delays in reporting doesn't mean that it's a false allegation. It certainly could be a false allegation, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a false allegation. I don't know. You don't know. None of us know. Well, there are people who are going to know, right? That's where this female celebrity who's unnamed and was allegedly standing right there, that person is going to be a very key witness to be able to say, what she did or did not see. And that's going to present some interesting issues. Obviously, even though it's been, almost 25 years, that scene, if it happened in the way that it's being described with these parties involved, that's not going to be something that you're readily going to forget, if ever, right? So that would be interesting if it gets that far to the period of depositions. She's going to be a very key deposition to be able to question what it is that she saw, what did she observe, what did she hear, and her response to those questions will be very revealing. It being in the civil world versus the criminal world, I mean, if you go to a lawyer to advocate for you, that's going to be civil, right? If you report to law enforcement something that happened to you, then law enforcement conducts their investigation. They then turn their reports, photographs, videos, witness statements, any evidence they have over to the district attorney. And then the district attorney decides whether they're going to file charges against somebody. But on the civil side of things, if you go straight to a lawyer, then it's a party versus the other party, and they're going to, typically file or send a demand letter, right? So they're going to set forth the allegations and then say, hey, you can avoid litigation, which, if you can avoid litigation, then you avoid this being in the public eye. And we can see, we're going to talk about this in a bit, just how much this is affecting Jay-Z as a brand. But oftentimes in these civil matters, business decisions are made to settle lawsuits, even if there's some merit to them, just to avoid public filings and have what he's now experiencing at this point. Because make no mistake about it, there is irreparable harm that is being done. Even if he's ultimately cleared of everything relating to this case, unfortunately, he's not ever going to be completely cleared, because people are always going to have in their back of their mind some sort of guilt by association with Puff and what Puff's now going through, and just the severity of the allegations. They'll think, hey, if it gets dismissed, that, oh, well, it's because he's a billionaire and that's why he was able to buy his way out of this, or something to that effect. But, when it comes to these, the reason why this is civil is, ultimately because Jay-Z and Puff have money, right? Because sexual abuse, sexual assault, rapes happen all the time, all across America and all around the world, right? But typically it is handled in the criminal courts. It's only handled civilly when the person, when it's either like in connection with a job, in which case there might be some large insurance policy, or if it's a rich defendant, right? Because if the person is just a regular person, right, whether you deliver packages for a living, or even if you work at a bank, you have a good bank job or something like that, typically a person is not going to have the assets in order to pay on a judgment if they're found liable civilly, right? Let's just say even a $10,000 judgment or a $50,000 judgment, the average person is not just going to have that sitting around to be able to pay out on a judgment. But if you're worth millions, let alone if you're a billionaire, then you will have that money to pay out if you're found civilly liable, or if you decide to settle. And that's where, if the defendant is somebody that's rich, then, a plaintiff's attorney will take on that case, because, oftentimes these are taken as a contingency, which means that the plaintiff doesn't have to come up with any money up front, but then the plaintiff's attorney will then take a percentage of what is settled for, right? So if it settles for $1 million and the plaintiff's attorney is taking 33%, then, the plaintiff's attorney will end up taking $300,000 at the end of the day. But if the case doesn't settle, or if they lose, then, the plaintiff doesn't have to pay the attorney anything. But, those nuances become really interesting, because it goes to Jay-Z's response to Tony Buzbee, right? So you have Jay basically attacking Tony Buzbee, saying, you're an ambulance chaser, you wear cheap suits, really going on the offensive. And it's, I believe it's been revealed that the anonymous lawsuit that was filed against Tony Buzbee for extortion was by Jay-Z, right? And so his position is like, hey, like, I'm not even getting to the merits of this lawsuit, calling it idiotic, calling the allegations, laughable, essentially, because of who they're being filed by, and basically saying that this dude is an opportunist and he's taking advantage of a situation and he's basically just trying to shake rich people down for money. And that's, and that is a possibility. Again, and just in the same way that I don't know what Jay did or didn't do, I don't know if that's true in terms of what the lawyer is doing. The reality is, in a civil case, you can put whatever you want in a complaint, right? The complaint is just allegations. It's not the gospel truth. And I can tell you, I had a case, a civil case, a few years back where my client was being sued for millions of dollars, right? And if you were to look at the complaint filed in that case, you would look at it and say, man, if this is true, then yeah, you probably owe these people millions of dollars, right? But that's the big if. That is the big if it's true. We went through everything and my client was adamant this is absolutely false. Maybe the only thing that's true is the true and correct is the spelling of my name and the spelling of their name. Outside of that, this is all lies. And so we went through everything and had an opportunity to go through what's called the discovery phase, and that's where you're exchanging written information. So you have the opportunity to ask all the questions. You state this as your allegation. Please state any and all facts in support of your contention that X happened. You state that this happened. Please name any and all witnesses who have any knowledge regarding your contention that this happened. All right, you said this happened. Please provide any and all documents in support of your contention that this happened. And so when you get all that information, as we went through it, and we didn't even get to depositions because I saw that this was BS. And they saw that our client had a business that was making millions of dollars and figured, hey, we'll file this lawsuit and we'll get these, we'll get a settlement, right? And we'll get rich off of this person taking advantage of the situation. And, I had to write a very nice letter, right? Letting them know how ridiculous this lawsuit was and the legal authority indicating how this would have no chance at, being successful in front of a jury. And so I advise you now to, dismiss this while you're ahead, because I know that you haven't been paid a dime yet, right? Mr. Attorney, you were hoping that you would get a percentage of these millions, but now that I'm letting you know that this case isn't worth anything, dismiss this. And it took a little bit of time because, I think there was a lot of hope there that this guy was going to get paid and his clients were going to get paid. But ultimately, they knew that I was right and they dismissed the lawsuit. I say all that to say, not that, not talking about my dopeness, although that's a fact too. But what I'm saying is that a person can file a lawsuit and say whatever it is that they want. You have to have the opportunity to go through the whole discovery process, to go through depositions, to be able to, expose some of the lies and the falsehoods and the misrepresentations and things like that. But the reality is, Jay-Z does not want this to go that far, right? He's already started filing documents in court to try and do away with this as soon as possible. This lawsuit has been filed anonymously, right? So the plaintiff's name and identity has not yet been revealed. And so Jay is asking for their exposure because, at the end of the day, how am I supposed to defend myself against a phantom plaintiff? I have no idea who this person is. You're putting me in a position where I cannot defend myself without knowing who this person is. And so they're really leaning on the court to ultimately reveal this person's name so that he can properly defend himself. So they're really wanting to put pressure on the court to reveal the plaintiff's name, or basically say you either provide your information and identify yourself or the case is going to be dismissed. That's obviously something that Jay-Z wants. And that doesn't mean that you're just trying to escape liability. Again, we don't know what actually went on or if this even happened. But you should have an opportunity to be able to face your accusers and go through that process in that way. But again, at the end of the day, the fallout from this and the damage to Jay-Z LLC, right? Jay-Z as a brand has suffered irreparable harm. No matter how this case turns out, at the end of the day, just even seeing all these news headlines and hearing about this, and you look at comment sections on these videos and posts and things like that, and people are already saying that he's liable for this, he did this, without seeing a shred of evidence. And so there's already talks of, and I can guarantee you the NFL Super Bowl committee, there's already talks. There's already boardroom talks with lawyers and the like of, what are we going to do in this situation? Do we need to remove ourselves from this situation? Just the blowback and the potential losses are extreme, even though nothing has yet been proven. I mean, you just have such a huge contingency of women and, men alike, right? I don't think this is just a sole gender issue, but when it comes to women's rights and victims advocates and those organizations and how much there would be in terms of protests for the NFL not doing something, and all the other businesses that he has association with, they're all going to have to make similar decisions as to what they do, how long they wait before they take action. But like I said, the damage is irreparable. But I really do hope that that this is just a frivolous lawsuit with no basis, just given the alarming nature of the allegations. I certainly want to give both of these gentlemen the benefit of the doubt, but it's definitely an unenviable position to be in, but we're in the beginning stages. We'll see how this thing plays out. I'll definitely keep you updated on this. Well, if you got something out of this video, show me some love, hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on those notifications so you never miss a new video when it drops. As always, I want to thank you so much for watching, and until next time.